Hi friends, this is Subhobroto Bosu. Welcome to my channel. Before going to my video, please subscribe my channel and click the bell button and select all videos so that all updates at first come to you. Please watch till the end of the video. Now coming to my present discussion. My today's topic is Nissim Ezekiel. You all know that Nissim Ezekiel is one of the greatest Indian poet I ever read. He is not only one of the most Indian English poet, but also plays a very great role in Indian English literature too. Now, all you know that Indian English literature plays a great role in almost all exams like NET, JRF, SET, KVS Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangathan Examination, NVS Navodaya Vidyalaya Sangathan Examination, APS. In every year, questions from Indian English literature must set. So, let's start. Before going to my discussion, I will give you a biographical details of Nissim Ezekiel because biographical description are often come for the next set exam. So, let's start. Nissim Ezekiel was born in Bombay of Jewish parents who were devoted to education. To this heritage, he owes his own deep involvement in education. He has taught in a school, at college and at university. He studied at Wilson College, Bombay, and at Birkbeck College, London. His stay in England from 1948 to 1952 marked a watershed in his life and career. According to Ezekiel, philosophy, poverty, and poetry shared his basement room in England, and that confluence of experiences left its mark on his poetry. Besides writing poetry for over half a century, Ezekiel has been copywriter, literary critic, art critic, playwright, director of plays, and professor of English at the University of Bombay. He is an active member of the Indian branch of PEN, Poets Essayists Novelists Club, which was formed in the 1920s. He has also been editor of the Indian PEN Quest Imprint and Poetry India. As editor and critic, Ezekiel has influenced the theory and practice of several younger poets, besides making his own pioneering creative contribution to Indian poetry in English. His latter-day Psalms was selected for the Sahitya Academy Award in 1983 and he was awarded the Padma Shri in 1988. Ezekiel has published 8 volumes of poetry including A Time to Change, which was published in 1952, The Unfinished Man, published in 1960, The Exact Name, published in 1965, Hymns in Darkness, published in 1976, and Collected Poems, published in 1989. Ezekiel's contribution to Indian poetry in English is important both for its quality and variety. His early poetry has close affinities with the work of T.S. Eliot, W. H. Auden, Ezra Pound, and Rainer Maria Rilke. Ezekiel's poetry renders the contemporary themes of alienation, spiritual emptiness, isolation, and fragmentation with humor, compassion, and irony. He draws his images from the cities he has known intimately, Bombay and London. In order to explore the contemporary ethos, Ezekiel's poetry is distinguished by his conscious craftsmanship, his philosophical and introspective mode, and his unpretentious yet restrained conversational style. He is a pathbreaker in the use of modern speech inflections within the framework of formal verse patterning. The lilt of Indian speech, cadences often found in Ezekiel's poetry, is not simply a token measure to show his cultural immersion in his environment. The poet's rootedness in the Indian ethos is evident in his series of 8 poems, very Indian poems in Indian English, which are included in Hymns in Darkness. As his poem in India reveals, Ezekiel's India may be dark and wounded, but he does not wish to exchange it for any other place. Now, I will discuss the poem Enterprise written by Nissim Ezekiel. Before going to the poem, I would like to give some details or give some introduction about the poem. Of the 3 poems of Ezekiel included here, Enterprise from the Unfinished Man, published in 1960, marks an early phase in the poet's self-exploratory oeuvre, O-E-U-V-R-E oeuvre. The poem can perhaps be read as an autobiography of Ezekiel's literary experiences during his stay in England, so it is an autobiographical poem. Allusions to a pilgrimage, the call, prayer, and grace suggest that this rite of passage must have been a powerful spiritual experience for the poet, involving frequent doubts and self scrutiny. The poet persona uses irony to come to terms with the ambivalence of his literary and cultural position vis a vis European poetry. The specific geographical and material nature of the journey is reinforced by words like sea and sob, which provide clues to the poet's alienation in a foreign land, yet the reader is unable to reach with ease the bedrock of actual impulses that underlie this poem. Now I am going to the poem, the text of the poem, and also with the analysis of some important lines or important phrases. The poem Enterprise. The title Enterprise is the second of 10 poems written by Ezekiel in 1959, which comprise the collection The Unfinished Man. The volume begins with an epigraph from W.B. Yeats' poem, A Dialogue of Self and Soul, of which the two last lines are: The unfinished man and his pain brought face to face with his own clumsiness. Borrowing the title of this collection from Yeats' poem, Ezekiel enters into a similar dialogue with himself. Now I am reciting the poem. It started as a pilgrimage, exalting minds and making all the burdens light. The second stage explored, but did not taste the call. The sun beat down to match our rage. It is the first stanza, the first 5 lines of the poem. Line 1 to 5 means pilgrimage. Here the word pilgrimage, this is perhaps an allusion to Ezekiel's journey to England. You know that it is an autobiographical poem. It describes, it narrates his own life in England, an alienated life. The pilgrimage is both real and imagined. The poet persona is accompanied by others who set out responding to the call, but there is a gradual diminishing of their fervor. So it is the meaning of from line 1 to line 5. Next, we stood it very well, I thought, observed and put down copious notes on things the peasants sold and bought, the way of serpents and of goats, 3 cities where a sage had taught. In line 7, you can find copious notes. That means the phrase is used ironically to suggest immaturity as well as the lack of a proper perspective and focus among the pilgrims. In line number 9, the phrase the way of serpents and of goats means this could be a reference to the superior knowledge of nature that the peasants have. In line 10, the phrases 3 cities where a sage had taught. That means this is an obscure as it seems precise. The allusion may be to T.S. Eliot or to Ezra Pound, who dominated the literary scene of Europe in the early 20th century. Critics of Ezekiel's poetry have glossed over the obscurity of this reference. However, to impose a specific locale and identity would perhaps be to limit the range of possible resonance. Next, I am coming from line number 11. But when the differences arose on how to cross a desert patch, we lost a friend whose stylish prose was quite the best of all our batch. A shadow falls on us and grows. This is from line number 11 to line number 15. In line number 12, there is a word desert. This is the metaphor of a journey through a desert, has reverberations of Ezekiel's own Jewish faith. There is a possible allusion to the wandering of the Israelites through the desert when they were driven out of Egypt by the Pharaoh. The second book of the Bible, Exodus, the Greek word for departure, describes this journey. Next, I am coming to line number 16. Another phase was reached when we were twice attacked and lost our way. A section claimed its liberty. To leave this group, I tried to pray our leader said he smelled the sea. There is nothing more important in this passage, so let's continue from line number 21. We noticed nothing as we went, a straggling crowd of little hope, ignoring what the thunder meant, deprived of common needs like soap. Some were broken, some merely bent. In line number 23, what the thunder meant. Echoes of what the thunder said, the last section of T.S. Eliot's most famous poem, The Wasteland, published in 1922, where the poet persona invokes the fable of the thunder from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, volume 2, to provide the moral imperatives of datta, daddham, and damayatta. That means give, be compassionate, and control yourselves. In Enterprise, thunder perhaps refers to each writer's private moment of inspiration. Now I am reciting the last stanza of the poem Enterprise by Nissim Ezekiel. When finally we reached the place, we hardly knew why we were there. The trip had darkened every face. Our deeds were neither great nor rare. Home is where we have to earn our grace. So this is the poem Enterprise. Many type of questions can be asked. The first line and the last line of the poem is very important. On which background the poet is set, as I previously said that it is an autobiographical poem of Nissim Ezekiel. So it is also important to keep it in mind that the poem is an autobiographical in nature. When the poet was in London, he wrote the poem as an alienated self from his motherland, that is, from India. So it is the poem The Enterprise which I described you in details as the text as well as the analysis of the poem. Now I am coming to the next poem, one of the most important poem and often often prescribed in the syllabus of graduation, undergraduation, or in master's syllabus. The name of the poem is Night of the Scorpion. Before going to the text of the poem, I am giving you some introductory details of the poem itself. Night of the Scorpion, from the exact name Night of the Scorpion is extracted. The exact name is the book, is the collection of poems by Nissim Ezekiel. The book was published in 1965. Is a much anthologized poem which belongs to the middle phase of Ezekiel's writing. As in some of the other poems included in the volume, the ordinary and the commonplace are treated with a simplicity that draws out the latent human emotions of the situation, elevating and transmuting them into poetry. The poem is in free verse, and the narrative attains added piquancy through the use of a conversational tone combined with the rhythms of ritualistic chant and prayer. So it is important that from which book the Night of Scorpion is extracted. It is the book, the collection of the book, name of the book is the exact name, published in 1965 by Nissim Ezekiel. Now I am reciting the poem Night of the Scorpion, and I will also try to analyze some important phrases and words from the poem Night of the Scorpion. Now let's start. I remember the night my mother was stung by a scorpion. 10 hours of steady rain had driven him to crawl beneath a sack of rice. So it means, I'm continuing some few lines. Parting with his poison flash of diabolic tail in the dark room, he risked the rain again. That means there is a complex play of memory here involving past childhood images of heightened fear, alongside a more adult understanding of the situational irony that turns the victim scorpion into an aggressor and back again into a victim who is exiled from the erstwhile shelter. The poet uses the fear-ridden impressions of the child's sensitive mind, which coalesce with received images and notions of evil and darkness. So the poem is very much important for its great images and symbols. We should read the poem with the symbols and images, keep it in our mind. Next line, line number 5, 6, 7, 8. From line number 8 I am again reciting. The peasants came like swarms of flies and buzzed the name of God 100 times to paralyze the evil one. With candles and with lanterns, throwing giant scorpion shadows on the sun-baked walls. They searched for him. He was not found. They clicked their tongues. With every movement that the scorpion made, his poison moved in mother's blood, they said. May he sit still, they said. May the sins of your previous birth be burned away tonight, they said. May your suffering decrease, the misfortunes of your next birth, they said. May the sum of evil balanced in this unreal world against the sum of good become diminished by your pain. May the poison purify your flesh of desire and your spirit of ambition, they said, and they sat around on the floor with my mother in the center. The peace of understanding on each face, more candles, more lanterns, more neighbors, more insects, and the endless rain. So, now I am coming to the discussion. The words or the lines from line number 18 to 31, that is, may he sit still to face. I am now giving you the meaning. I am trying to give you some meanings of the line. In these lines, the poet uses multiple perspectives and provides a variation of rhythm in order to make an all conclusive statement about the human condition. The child's silent observation, the scorpion's aggression, and the peasant's primitive wisdom are counterpointed through shifting perspectives. The ritualistic incantation of the pious hopes and wishes of the peasants has the form, pattern, and rhythm of a prayer. These incantations invoke well entrenched ideas in Indian philosophy, such as rebirth, karma, the idea that one has to reap the fruits of one's deeds in following births, and Maya, that means the Vedantic concept of the natural universe as one vast illusion. Next, I am reciting again from line number 34, I hope. My mother twisted through and through, groaning on a mat. My father skeptic, rationalist, trying every curse and blessing, powder, mixture, herb, and hybrid. He even poured a little paraffin upon the beaten toe and put a match to it. I watched the flame feeding on my mother. I watched the holy man perform his rites to tame the poison with an incantation. After 20 hours, it lost its sting. So from line number 36 to 45, my mother to lost its sting. That means there is a powerful use of parallelisms and contrast. The word uses some contrasted images here in these lines in order to juxtapose the rationalism as well as materialism represented by the father with the beliefs and superstitions of the poems. So, on the one hand, there is rationalism, on the other hand, there is superstition in the lines. So, the poem is rich in images and symbols. Next, I am reciting the last three lines. My mother only said, thank God the scorpion picked on me and spared my children. Here the poet gives a motherly feeling, a motherly affection to the poem. So the poem is important from the contextual point, from the images, from the symbols, and the first line and the last line is very, very important for coming questions in NET, SET, JRF, etc. Now I am coming to the poem Goodbye Party for Miss Puspa P.S. This is one of the most important poems by Nissim Ezekiel. The poem is collected from the very Indian poems in Indian English poetry collection published in 1976. It is written in the form of a farewell speech. Here Ezekiel parodies with good humor the frequently flawed usage of what is called Standard English, a hybrid form of the language colloquially referred to as Babu Angrezi, is used in the poem to render ironically the confused usage of English by the Indian middle class. The original impulse of the poem may not be very charitable, but as in his other very Indian poems in Indian English, the poet's obvious sympathy prevents the speaker from becoming a mere caricature. What this poem achieves in the context of more recent debates about Indian English is the release of English from its British cultural antecedents. Now I am coming to read the text of the poem. Goodbye party for Miss Puspa T.S. Friends, our dear sister is departing for foreign in 2-3 days, and we are meeting today to wish her bon voyage. You are all knowing, friends, what sweetness is in Miss Puspa. I don't mean only external sweetness but internal sweetness. Miss Puspa is smiling and smiling even for no reason but simply because she is feeling. Miss Puspa is coming from very high family. Her father was renowned advocate in Balsar or Surat. I am not remembering now which place. Surat? Ah, yes. Once only I stayed in Surat with family members of my uncle's very old friend. His wife was cooking nicely. That was long time ago. Coming back to Miss Puspa, she is most popular lady, with men also and ladies also. Whenever I asked her to do anything, she was saying, just now only I will do it. That is showing good spirit. I am always appreciating the good spirit. Puspa Miss is never saying no. Whatever I or anybody is asking, she is always saying yes. And today she is going to improve her prospect, and we are wishing her bon voyage. Now I ask other speakers to speak, and afterwards Miss Puspa will do summing up. So I am now coming. This is the poem Goodbye Party to Miss Puspa T.S. Now I am coming to the details analysis or the meaning of some important words or phrases. The title itself is very important. The title, this poem was written in 1967. The publication detail is important. Soon after Ezekiel began his series of poems, very Indian poems in Indian English. In line number 2, the word sister, the poet is ironical about the self-conscious Indian usage of kinship terms like uncle, sister, mother to address even casual acquaintances. In line number 8, the phrase you are all knowing, that is, there is a dig at the use of the present continuous tense in place of the simple present tense, which is characteristic of Indian English. In line number 30, there is phrase just now only. The poem continues to parody Indian English. Ending sentences with the word only is a common form of expression among speakers of Indian English. And line number 38, improve her prospect. Note the replacement of prospects with the singular prospect. The speaker perhaps implies that Miss Puspa T.S. will improve not only her professional but also her marriage prospects by traveling abroad. So this is my today's discussion. Please subscribe my channel to get updates. Thank you, friends. Thank you.